Hey everyone, in this video, I want to talk about automation. Doesn't everybody? That's one of the buzzwords, one of the popular trends out there right now. The other one being obviously AI. But let's talk about automation. Let's talk about how to get into automation and what should you automate first? How should you automate? Should you automate? Those sorts of things. Um, but before we get into that, I want to remind everyone that every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we host the Cortex Users Group. We talk all about Cortex, answer questions. It's somewhere in between. I want to say support group, but that makes it sound bad. But realistically, it's a community oriented forum for all of you to talk to each other, to talk to us about questions you have regarding Cortex, problems you're running into, configuration, looking to ask other people about their experiences using Cortex. Anything is on the table, really. And sometimes we show off some of the new things that we're doing, some of the new things that we're adding in Cortex. And of course, one of the things that we're getting into with Cortex is more of the IT automation type stuff. So this fits in quite nicely with that. If you have questions about automation, that's a perfect fit for the Cortex users group. If you can't make it to the Cortex users group, and by no means are you required to come to every single one. You're welcome to show up if and when you have time and availability. Or if you only have a question, you're also more than welcome to hang out and chat with us, even if you don't have a particular question. But you can also join our Discord server, which there's a link down in the description below for actually both of those things. A way to get an invite to the Cortex user group and a way to get into our Discord server, where you can ask any question that you want. It's basically the Cortex users group in text form on Discord. So let's get into what should you automate. So I came across a post. At this point, it was probably a week or two ago. Someone was talking about automation and basically asking this question: what should you automate? Um, and it reminded me that in my experience, I've seen organizations and people kind of jump a little bit too far into automation, um, go from not having automated everything to automation will solve everything. And that is not true. If you're going with that approach, you're kind of doomed to fail from the start. Now, that's not to say that automation won't solve a lot of your problems, but if you try to jump from I have no automation to automate all the things all at once, you're going to run into problems. And the reason for that is that there are so many decisions that we make when we're going through manual processes that you just can't capture going straight to automation. You end up falling into one of two pitfalls. Either you automate the ideal case and completely forget about the exceptions that occur, the little decisions that you make, or you automate something aspirational. Basically, you build your automation for a reality that doesn't really exist and probably isn't ever going to exist. Because you try to solve all of the inefficiencies in your current process because either it's hard to implement them in the automation, or you think that automating the process will just magically make them go away. None of that is true. And it's kind of painful for me to say that because I have definitely fallen into that situation myself. We have processes here that I do manually a lot of times. I would love to automate them. And the first pass that I made at like designing the automation for them was very aspirational, and it was doomed to fail from the start. Like it just is not going to work. What I have to automate is what I'm doing now. You have to start with what you're doing now. You have to understand the problem that you're dealing with, understand the problems that keep coming up, and identify the things that you're actually trying to fix. Um, and my recommendation would be to start by automating exactly the process that you do right now. Don't worry about the fact that it's inefficient, that it probably has more steps than it needs to, um, because that will force you to do a couple things. One, is that it'll force you to identify exactly what you're doing, identify exactly what the stimulus is, what the trigger is, and identify exactly what it is that you're doing. And if you're able to do that, then you can start developing the processes, manual processes. We still haven't automated a thing. The manual processes to perform that workflow consistently every single time. So obviously, human error is a thing, right? Humans don't do the same thing the same way twice. We know that. But if you develop a process, if you document a process where you are doing the same thing, ideally, you are doing the same thing, the same steps every single time, then you can start to build the automation that does that. Um, and then, of course, the another pitfall is trying to automate everything all at once. Trying to bite off, more than you can chew, basically. And don't do that, right? You're never going to go from not having any automation to having automated all the things overnight. And the longer it takes you to get from nothing to everything, the more your processes are going to change just by virtue of they change, right? New things happen, requirements change, there are new business needs, that sort of thing. My recommendation is go from 0 to 1 on one very small workflow as quickly as possible. Maybe it's the thing that is the most tedious, the thing that just drives you absolutely bananas. You don't want to do it. You never want to do it. You don't want to touch it. You would rather have a computer do it. Maybe that's the one you start with. Maybe it's something that is uh, very error prone, right? There are many different steps that have to happen in a particular order, and you just need them to happen in exactly the right order and exactly the right process. Uh, and doing them manually just tends to lead to errors. Having a computer, having some sort of automation go through exactly the steps, computers do the exact same thing. They do exactly what you tell them every single time, right? For better or worse. Maybe that's where you start with your automation. Maybe you start with something where you need to have a clear paper trail. And maybe it's easier to have an automated process go through those steps, record every single thing that it's doing, as opposed to having, print out a paper checklist or whatever the digital equivalent of that is, manually going through the steps, signing, checking off a box, that sort of thing. Having an automated process that just does it and records that all the steps happened at the appropriate time provides a probably a cleaner paper trail. And of course, there are some things that just don't really lend themselves to automation, things that require too much true manual intervention, too much human intervention. I'm not talking about just like approvals, yes or no, should this proceed, should this not proceed. That's fairly easy for automation to capture. Yes, it is human intervention, but that's uh, fairly simple. But if it requires significant decision making, significant I was going to say creativity. That's not really the right way to say it. Um, but there is a significant manual component that just can't really be automated. Even if 90% of the process can be automated, uh, well, maybe if 90% of the process can be automated, you divide it up into the part of the process that can be automated and the part of the process that's manual, and then you automate the part that can be automated. But if it's more like 50-50 and it's lots of back and forth between things that can be automated and things that can't be automated, that in my mind, that's not really worth automating, because basically you are taking something that wasn't really error prone and making it error prone because now you have to fit into the box of the automation. So I wouldn't go down that road with some of those processes. I would start with the things that are fairly simple. You get an email and it's very clearly asking for a particular thing. You can just kick off an automation that takes care of it, does everything, doesn't need any intervention, doesn't need any decisions on anyone's part. It just does it, takes care of it. Automating forgot passwords, those sorts of things. Those are the situations where I would start. Now, if you have specific automation scenarios that you're thinking about, should I automate? Should I not automate? Let's talk about them. If you have questions, if you want a sounding board, come find us on Discord, come find us in the Cortex users group. Leave something down in the comments down below. I'm curious to hear what are some of the things that you're starting to automate. What are some of the things that you decided not to automate? Let's start a discussion on this. Lots of organizations run into a lot of similar issues. Lots of organizations run into lots of very different issues that might help inform our automation journeys. So let's start a conversation around this. And I'd love to hear your feelings, thoughts on things that worked well to automate, things that didn't work well to automate. Go ahead and leave those down in the comments down below, or again, join us on Discord or in the Cortex users group. Look forward to chatting with you about all of this, and I will see you in the next one.